I do welcome the refugees into Canada. I understand you're from a war-torn country. I understand that you've had civil unrest there for numerous years. We've got the saying here is always best to clean up your own backyard before you migrate elsewhere. And here we don't have those wars and those problems because we learn to get along with each other. Something your nation should first try doing before claiming to be refugees and persecuted. You have to first look at why. And so under the Referendum Party of Canada, the free ride refugees get in Canada will end. I've got citizens in Canada been here for 30 years. I've got people migrating to Canada. I've got children and grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, great-great-great-great-grandchildren from migrant families who don't even own a house. And when I find out that the Canadian government is giving out houses to refugees, it really, really makes me wonder why. When common, hard-working Canadian citizens can't even afford a house and can barely afford to pay their rent. And under the Referendum Party of Canada, this has to end. I understand the charities want to give to the refugees. I understand that. Unfortunately, there are very good families in Canada that are unfortunately poverty-stricken, who can use that help, who can use the donations, who can use the money to raise their children. And instead, we have charities in Canada raising funds for non-Canadians. And that doesn't speak volumes for those charities. And it doesn't speak volumes for Canadians giving to those charities. Because there's somebody next door to you who can use the food. There's somebody next door to you who's working 2 jobs. Single woman, single father, working 2 jobs to help raise his 2, 3 children, 1 child, putting funds away or attempting to and yet not being able to because their rent and their groceries and the cost of raising a child is so expensive that I can't permit that to happen. My policies, some people will say I'm radical, some people will say I hate migrants, and yet my grandfather was a migrant. My father was a migrant who migrated here 5 years ago from Slovakia. When he was 5, he migrated here from Slovakia. And so I live in the double world. I live in the world of my migrant forefathers and my Aboriginal forefathers. And I have to work a fine mixture with the two of them so that the two of them get along well. And I need people to understand that my girlfriend's Chinese, and if I had any issues with migrants, I would be with my own kind. I would be with an Aboriginal woman, or I would be with a Slovak girl. In the end, it's not how life works out. Nor should life work out for the people migrating here to be homeless. Nor should it be for people like young girls migrating here, having problems making ends meet, maybe facing deportation because things aren't working out too well, and then they commit suicide. I can't have that. As a compassionate person who sits in creation's lap, I have to prepare them a home. I am not responsible for a group of religious minority or majority who persecute each other. I have my own backyard to clean up. And part of cleaning up my backyard is making sure that everybody owns their own home. And if I can't work it out as a government, that the people migrating here become homeless and I can't work a home out for them, then I shouldn't be elected. If I can't look at a family that's been here for hundreds of years and disregard the fact they're homeless, then I shouldn't be elected. I have to regard the Canadian citizen and the ones who migrate here, and I have to show them hospitality. In order to show them hospitality, I have to get control over the housing market, and part of that is making sure that the houses go to the right people and that homes are provided to the right people. If a family wishes to allow a refugee to live with them in Canada, to sponsor and support them, I'm fine with that. But when they expect to be provided for by the government, whom the taxpayers provide the funds to, I'd have to have the Canadians vote on that. I'd have to have the citizens of Canada vote if that's what they want, because personally I prefer to give to a Canadian citizen or a migrant who's putting into the system, who's put into the system, who has children who will put into the system. I'd rather invest in them before I invest in outsiders. I wish you all well. I hope that your religious states out in the Middle East, Syria, I wish that the Middle East one day unifies and creates a holy state based on love for each other and not persecution of each other. Until that happens, there will be refugees. Until Africa unifies as one nation, there will be refugees from Africa. Until these countries rectify their problems, there will always be refugees. And it's not just about Africa, it's also about Asia. As long as these countries don't rectify and clean their backyards, there'll always be refugees. In order for this to work, your nations have to regard your people as humans, and you have to provide for them the same as what I wish to provide Canadians. You have to assist them in any way possible, regardless of where they're from. And running a country is not based on the amount of money you make or the wages you have. Running a country is based on compassion and understanding the general need of its population. I welcome refugees, as I stated, but I prefer if you try to work your problems out before you made yourself refugees. Compassion, I understand, but you all have to understand you all have borders. And your borders is what causes the problem with refugees. You have to deal with your leaders. You have to elect somebody who's like me, willing to be compassionate, willing to return the resources and the wealth of the nation back to its people. If they're not willing to do that, some of you will be refugees. I have much, much, much love for the Middle East. It's a very ancient place. There's been a lot of turmoil there. And the turmoil is caused by religious beliefs. And I hope one day you can all sit down as human beings and you can all learn to respect the values of life, and you can all learn to value the respect and the love for the globe. If you don't, then you'll always be refugees.